I just made all these potato barekas. Oh yeah, I can't wait to eat them. Probably not going to eat all of them by myself. I should have made less than that. Oops. Hey guys, MS, and I'm taking you on my conversion journey. So we're going to continue part 2 of Ask a Rabbi. And we're going to get into some really deep questions because a lot of the questions I chose were the ones that I reflected most of, things that I asked myself and things that I'm probably most likely going to encounter in real life. So we're going to go to part 6 now, and it's relations with non-Jews. So this question is, a non-Jew reciting blessings on food. I have a non-Jewish friend who believes in God. He saw me reciting the blessing before and after eating and asked if I can teach him how to recite the appropriate blessing to express his appreciation for food he eats. Can I do so? Before I get into his response, I ran into a situation where I was eating with a few Jewish friends and I tried to say, oh, we should say a blessing, but it wasn't kosher food. And they were just like, I don't think it's appropriate to say a blessing on food that's not kosher. But in my head, I was just like, you can't just say thank you for the food? Like, I don't know. But that was also a while ago and I wasn't converting. So this makes more sense to me now that I'm reading it. So his response is, a non-Jew reciting blessing on food is okay. They just can't use Eloheinu, which means our God, and it's only reserved for the Jewish nation. And this is the clear distinction on which God are you making a prayer to, you know? And I was just like, okay, in my real life, I'm going to deal with this because, you know, their God is different than, like the way they worship my family is going to be different from me. And they won't be able to use Eloheinu like I can. So I think that was a great explanation about that. The next one, same in the same section, in part 6, non-Jewish guest at a Yom Tov meal. I have a non-Jewish neighbor who lives alone. We try to be nice to him and help him when we can. Is there anything wrong with inviting him to join us for a Shabbos or a Yom Tov meal? So his response was this. Having a non-Jewish guest at Shabbos is fine. The thing is, you just don't want to dampen the positive spiritual atmosphere because you have somebody who may not understand it there. You're supposed to, the positivity in the worship is supposed to prevail, and it's supposed to be a righteous, joyous moment at the Shabbos table. And when he said for Yom Tov, he said it's prohibited to have a non-Jewish guest there because you'll be cooking extra for a non-Jewish guest, and that's prohibited. Because you shall rejoice on your festival. I'm not going to say this because I don't know how to say it. I'll try. I guess you won't be fulfilling the mitzvah of V'samachata b'chagecha. Tell me if I'm saying this right. Which makes sense because a non-Jewish person, although they'll be happy to be involved, they won't be able to dive in and understand the blessing that they're in, and it'll kind of be almost wasteful. So I guess I get what he's saying, but I know people who do go to Passover, who do Rosh Hashanah. So I mean, I'm not Jewish yet, and I was able to go there. I guess maybe I'm an exception because I'm converting, but I'm converting, and I still haven't I'm not gonna say I didn't appreciate it, but there were a lot of things that I still didn't understand. And I was just kind of like lost compared to everyone else who was in the moment and being spiritual. So I could only imagine how it would be for someone who's not even converting. So I understand that completely. So now we're gonna hop into part 7, Jewish law and some reasons for what we do. So this was probably my favorite. This is why I picked up the book. When I was at my sponsoring family, I got this book from my sponsoring family, and the wife gave it to me, and she's incredible. And when she gave me this book, I skimmed through. We were at her library, and I skimmed through, and the first page I opened to was this one. And I read it, and I was just like, okay, I have to read. I'm curious to read about this book. So in this section, it talks about requirement for a married woman to cover their hair. Before a woman gets married, her hair may be uncovered. Once she is married, the Torah requires her to cover her hair. Why should the status of her hair suddenly change from one moment to the next? Is uncovered hair of a woman modest or immodest? So I've seen religious women cover their hair, religious women not cover their hair. I haven't made my choice until, like, when I read this, I made my choice after that, and I'll tell you guys in a second. So his response was this. So a man is not supposed to be looking at any part of a woman's body for enjoyment, but that doesn't mean that a woman has to cover from head to toe. When a woman gets married, she enters a new stage of spirituality and her status changes. And when I read that, well, actually, I'll get into it once I'm done reading. She enters a new stage of higher spirituality, and her status changes. She's doing the holy work of building a Jewish home now, which comes with many mitzvahs, many responsibilities, and she's becoming more complete. The Torah expects more from her, and additional levels of modesty. The closer one is to Hashem, the more is expected of him. I will be covering my hair, and this is why. I love the idea that I will be stepping into another status, and God will be expecting more of me, and I'll be leading my family as an example. I'll be leading others in example too. And that's something that means everything to me. I can't see myself, and if you choose not to do that, that's your business, but I can't imagine myself going through all of this and just skipping this mitzvah. It just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with me. I want to feel complete. I want to feel that I am indulging in all of this, all of the holiness that comes with covering your hair. And it's not a fashion statement. It's not just to point out how religious I am, but it's a connection between me and God. And I'm accepting all the responsibilities that come with it. So I love the new status. I think that he answered this spot on. Whew, it's hot again. Okay, so part 8, we get into dating, marriage, and family life. This was something I found very interesting. I guess I noticed this with my parents. They're both Christians, but they both go to church. But throughout their marriage, there was ups and downs of, well, my mother's never changed. She's always been religious. But there were times when my father wasn't so religious. But my mother just always kept the same level of religion. She never really changed. But they're still married, and right now they're at the same level. So only Hashem knows what the future will hold for you and your spouse. But I thought this was very interesting. So let me read the question. So, marrying someone on a different religious level. Can two people who are different levels in their religious observance marry each other if they feel that they are compatible in every other way? Does this one difference weigh out everything else? Okay, so the first thing he says to answer this question is, it depends really on how great the difference is. I was just like, oh, that's everything. He answered the question right there. So it may not be a good match if there's too much of a gap between how religious they are with each other and how non-religious they are. There are different fundamentals for a marriage to be successful, and there are obstacles to build a Jewish home and there are obstacles, there are spiritual challenges, and it might be a burden to someone who doesn't really have an appreciation for this lifestyle. And it's just a recipe for disaster, a recipe for unhappiness. And it's also just not a healthy environment to raise children in. The whole point is you want to raise children to go in the path of the Torah, and you don't want them to have a conflicting message. And you don't want to have any other obstacles in the children's path. They will be confused and unstable, both emotionally and spiritually. And if the gap is too big, you're just asking for a struggle, like a life full of struggle and hardship. And he said to see the excitement in Judaism, because this also applies to people who are already married, and somebody might become more religious or less religious. He says you have to see the excitement in Judaism, and usually the person who is lagging behind will want to hop on and enjoy the midst of doing family activities, going to shul, and embracing every moment of just being Jewish. And I thought that this was a great way to explain that, because I haven't decided yet on or don't know how religious I am going to be, or who my mystery partner, I do know that I personally wouldn't be dating someone who is reform or conservative. I would want somebody who is modern orthodox. And there will be challenges with that. He also states that you don't have to be like a carbon copy of each other, but there should be enough that it doesn't tear you apart. You should be strong enough to deal with the obstacles that come your way. And I thought that makes sense. You don't want your life to be a struggle. And if you have somebody on your team who is a little bit more, a little bit less than you, I think that's okay. So now we get into babies, gender before birth. Disclaimer, I've never been a fan of parties. I'm so anti-party. It's not even funny. I don't want a big glamorous wedding. I never liked baby showers. I hate going to them. I've avoided parties my whole life. I'm a pro at it. My family hates it, but I don't like attention. I don't like to just waste time too. And I'm not saying parties are a waste of time, but they kind of are. And I don't like to waste time and money. I'm just not a party person. So now the new trend that I see a lot is gender reveal parties. And great, if you want to get together with your family, I would rather get together for a Sunday dinner or a Shabbos dinner. I don't want to get together to party. I don't know. I don't see the meaning in that. So you have all these people doing gender reveal parties. Some are burning all of California down with them. Let me answer the question, because he goes in on that question, and I really, really like what he says. Well, part of the reason why I just don't like gender reveal parties is because the reaction people get from the sex that they don't want is quite disturbing. Your child is your child, no matter if it's a boy or girl. And you should be so appreciative that you are able to carry this child some people can't even carry a child, but you're carrying a child and then you're disappointed that it's not the sex that you want. I think that's privilege. I think that's sick and that's wrong. You should be loving that child no matter what. And I felt this way before I even read this book, and I thought it was, I agree with him 100%. So here's the question. Is there anything wrong with finding out a baby's gender before birth? I am a practical person, and this allows me to set up the house with necessary baby clothing. On the other hand, my wife feels that we should not try to be smarter than God, who kept the information hidden. Listen to your wife. So here was his response. It is technically permitted, but you should not be preparing for the birth before it happens. And he points out one of the main reasons is ayin hara, which is other people are jealous of the good things happening in your life. It's the evil eye. And I've always felt this way. I try my best to keep certain things in my life private, live a more private life because of this. People do not like when you are happy, growing, when you are successful, when you have money, when good things are happening in your life. And this is I believe this way before I started Judaism. And this is why years ago I got off social media. I got away from people that weren't benefiting my life. I stopped unhealthy habits, and I just started focusing on making myself a better person and making the environment around me conducive to the life that I would like to live. And now that I'm converting, it's a whole new level now. And this is part of the reason why I did start the Patreon, because I'm going to be sharing all the great things going on in my life. And I'm not too sure YouTube is ready for it. I'm not too sure if everybody also is deserving to see that, because ayin hara is a real thing, and people are going to be hating every bit of your happiness. So just keep that in mind. And the second thing he pointed out was you have to be grateful no matter the gender. And this is what I was saying earlier. I think what we managed as in baby showers, we're in enough stress. We managed to create another event for us to spend money to, again, celebrate the baby that's not here yet. Don't be smarter. We're not smarter than God. We're not. So this, we're going to part 10, which is Torah study. And I thought that this was very interesting. So part 10 is praying in English. The question is, not being fluent in reading or understanding Hebrew, I could read it, understand it a little. I find prayer is difficult and lacking meaning. Should I pray in English instead? So I went to the Rosh Hashanah service, and I'll talk about all of Rosh Hashanah on my Patreon, because it got really personal, and I'm not gonna share that on YouTube. Okay, so I found this very interesting. So his answer to that was, this is an occasion for us to connect with Hashem, and praying in English is fine, but there are advantages of praying in Hebrew. Lashon HaKodesh, which is the holy tongue, holds great spiritual power. And he gave a tip. If you're struggling with reading Hebrew, he suggested to read the Shmona Esrei over and over again and just practice it in Hebrew. And I got my Sidurim, so I think that's what I'm going to do, because when I say Modeh or whenever I'm in shul praying, davening, I'm okay, I can't keep up. I'm lost. And this was a great way for me to be motivated to improve my Hebrew and really connect with Hashem. It's quite beautiful, actually. Hebrew is a sacred language, and it is the holy tongue. And I want that spiritual power. Okay, so part 11, dealing with mocking by non-observant relatives. I guess I'm fortunate. I don't have relatives who are non-observant because none of my relatives are Jewish. But I guess I I don't know. Maybe my spouse might have non-observant relatives. So let's read what the question is. Sorry. No central air. Okay. Dealing with mocking by non-observant relatives. My non-observant relatives mock my Jewish observances. Should I have it out with them, or should I just be friendly to them and hope they will one day see the light? So his response, the rabbi's response, was this. The thing about dealing with non-observant relatives is that the religion is unlearned. They believe that the religion is outdated and it's full of superstition and it's not logical in the time we live in. And he suggests the best way to deal with this is to engage in conversation. And I couldn't agree more. Get them thinking and then watch the mockery turn into fascination, and then they'll grow to appreciate the Torah. So I agree 100%. Never, I used to do this when I was younger. I used to, like, whenever something would get uncomfortable or I don't want to talk about it, like, I would walk around on eggshells and just try to avoid it and just be silent. Not as an adult. And this goes for Judaism too. Whenever someone's mocking you, go straight to it. Go straight to it. Don't run away from any conversation that's uncomfortable, because what this does is it makes you stronger in your belief. And I'm ready to deal with any of that. So great response to that. So we're heading towards the end here. So we have about 3 more questions. The last 3 are pretty great. So this question goes, so many rules and regulations. Why does Orthodox Judaism have so many rules and regulations? Each mitzvah has so many technical details. Do all these nitpicking details really make a difference? And he says a resounding yes. And every detail is a huge implication. And the Holy Zohar states that Hashem used the Torah as a blueprint to create the world. Torah always existed in spiritual form. Everything in the world was created to keeping the Torah. And the Torah is the makeup and the essence of this world. Every mitzvah performed is in the physical world, corresponds and connects to the spiritual world. Planet Earth is the physical being, and actions do carry, and the actions we do here don't carry much weight as they do in the next world. So our souls are always rooted in heaven. Mitzvahs in a physical world send ripple effects and impact in the upper world. So, and he says this is true for mitzvahs and sins. So skipping mitzvahs can make a world of a difference and cause the entire spiritual process to malfunction. So it's important to keep the connection to it. And this is going to be hard, a little. I guess because I'm going to be a newly observant Orthodox Jewish woman, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try my best, because I love the idea that the mitzvahs I do in this world will correspond with the next. And I think that's a great way to live. I found that to be one of the more interesting questions, because a slight altering to a mitzvah can really have a negative impact in your life. Why would you want that? So in part 12, towards the last part, we get into general life. So this question is, what is a name? Is it true that a person's name can shape his destiny? Does my name really make a difference? So my full name is Tamar Esther Louis Saint. And my entire life, my parents have called me Esther, but they spell Tamar with the H, so people say Tamar. And I never had the courage to correct them as a child. And I don't know why my family chose to use my middle name more often than my first name, but both of my names are in the Bible, the Christian Bible. And I think almost all of my siblings' names, minus 1 or 2, are all in the Bible, and my mother did that purposely. because of how important a name is. I grew up hating all the names that were given to me because I didn't understand it. Like, I hate how people pronounced it. I was also insecure and very shy, and like, I don't know, I was just the idiot. So I wasn't confident, and I was just like, never talk to me. Like, my mommy calls me Esther, and that's what I really want to be called, but like, whatever, call me whatever. So because I see people naming their kids, and I'm judging you. But I'll speak about myself. Like, I didn't understand the significance of names until maybe a few years ago. I just would think, oh, that name is so pretty, and I would be focusing on how pretty a name is rather than like what the name means, where it comes from, its origin, its spelling. Like, it just, only thing that mattered to me was it's pretty. Meanwhile, this person's name could have been like a devil demon from another like realm, you know? So his response was this. He talks about Adam's task of naming all the creatures and to identify the essence of each animal, both in the physical and spiritual. And he explains how to choose the name that will reflect a child's mission and capabilities. A person's name helps bring out that potential and helps them develop their greatness. Name children after righteous people. And I will be doing that 100%. I'm not naming my child Bonquisha. I'm not doing that. I'm definitely gonna read through, and I don't want any evil eye or bad inclinations towards my child because I've named them the wrong name. That'll do a disservice to the child, and he answered that correctly, in my opinion. So the last thing in the book is privacy in Judaism. I love this and agree with this 100,000%. But ironically, what I'm doing right now, putting my conversion out there, isn't my personality at all. It isn't something I normally would do, but I just felt like, I don't know, I felt like I should be doing this and just talking to people. And I'm willing to step out of my comfort zone and share something personal that's private with you guys. I think being a private person is one of the best secret weapons to living a wonderful life. Being invisible is people pay a lot of money to be that way, and I'm gonna continue. Let me just read the question because I'm just babbling. In secular law, there are rules and regulations involving confidentiality and allowing people their own space. Does Judaism also recognize the right of privacy? So his response was this. Evil Balaam came to curse the Jewish people, and he realized that there were no doors facing a neighbor's door, and he saw this and was inspired. The respect for one another's privacy is a hallmark of the Jewish people. Private information is also protected. So be sure to, whenever you speak, ask yourself if it's doing harm. And always remember to keep the peace. And that's something I've learned to live by. I used to be a huge gossiper. I used to you couldn't tell me anything. What's the tea? I was that type of person. And over the years, I've learned to master being someone who doesn't speak about other people's business, being somebody who's more trustworthy and respecting privacy, not in just my personal life, but in others. And this is a great skill that took me a few years to master, because when you're surrounded by that, you don't know anything else. So I started to surround myself with more people who think this way. And it has been nothing but positive things came from it. I'm a more calm person. I'm a more trustworthy person. And I respect myself more, and I trust myself more. And there's nothing more beautiful than trusting yourself and trusting Hashem. So overall, I say get this book, because that was only like a taste in the 2 videos that I've made. That was just a taste of what he spoke about. So feel free, get it. It's in the link below, and also join my Patreon, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Shalom.